Hey, GRD131, Graphic Design 1 class that meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays in fall 2022. I'm going to go over what we did on class on Tuesday, October 4th, if you weren't there, and also as a review as far as using Figma. Now, Figma is a web prototype program for doing web design, but we can also do design work, and it's nice that we can work on it at home, we can share files, and we can do design work without always being linked to Illustrator or InDesign or something like that. And if you miss class, you can do it in Figma. So you're going to create a Figma account. I have a video for that, so watch the video. And then I'll go over the steps of working on this. Now, this is what you're going to finish kind of as a practice. Now, we already did this in Illustrator, but we're going to do this in Figma so we kind of see comparisons to what we were doing in Illustrator as far as doing a layout with text boxes and a border on here. I even threw clip art at the end. So I'm going to try to run through this fairly quickly. And you can always stop it and rewind or whatever if you need to. But this is kind of what we're going to finish up with. So I'm going to go back to Files right now. And in Figma, I'm just going to go back to Files. And this is your dashboard area. So when you log in, you should see something like this. You should see your login name. You should see a little initial of yourself. If you want to be in a dark theme, you could go over here to Theme, change it to dark. That's what I'm in right now. And you should see all your files down here. And they could be with little icons, or they can be in a list view. If you want to see them in list view, you can do that as well. So I'll leave it with icons. I'll leave that one here, and I'll do the assignment as we did it in class. So in class, we went to coursework in My Warren, and I'm sharing a file with you from a different account. So here's the starter file. Just like I would give you a PDF file that you would download and you would work on, this is a starter file in Figma. So the best thing to do is make sure you're logged into Figma. You don't have to have anything open, but make sure you're logged in. And then you can click on this. Now this will open in a different tab, but it will recognize that your Figma account is open and that you're logged in. And what you're going to do right away, it says view only. That means you can't really do any work on this. But what you can do is you can go here to this arrow and say duplicate in your drafts. And it should say file duplicated to your drafts, and you could open it. And I'm going to open it up, and now it's in my account that I'm working on. And this other one, I could actually close up this window because it does know I'm in my account. If you weren't logged in, it would ask you to log in. So I'm going to close this window and stay in this window. And you can also rename it. And if you go here, you can go to rename, or you can just double click on here. Now it says last name F, that's where you're going to put your name. I'm just going to put Homa R. I'll put 2 since I worked on another one just so I know the difference. You don't have to put a 2 there. But that's the way we would save files to your drafts. Now you will have it. This will be yours. So you're kind of adopting this one as your own. So I'll hit enter and it's in your drafts. So if you go back to files, you'll see it in there. So this will be in your files. It's no longer shared. So I'm going to open it up again, and there it is. And this is your layers panel, and this is your tools over here. You're going to see all kinds of contextual settings, meaning when you click on something, you'll see information about text. These are your layers. The first thing you're going to do here is take this St. Joseph's Pharmacy. If I click on it, you can see it's being highlighted there. I'm just going to drag it into letter, like right on top, so it's like that blue outline. That means it's part of that frame. This thing is a frame, but it's also kind of like a paper, like a piece of paper. So we're working on this as our page. So I'm just putting it in there. Just want you to get familiar with moving stuff around. You can move things around here on different layers, but right now everything's inside their letter. If you lock letter, you won't be able to do anything with anything. So we're going to leave that open. So don't grab onto letter right now and resize anything like that. Just let it alone. We're just going to be working on these text boxes that are here. Now, if you don't see these guides that are here on the page right now, that's under the Figma icon, and I'm going to view, and it's rulers. So if you turn off your rulers, you won't see those guides and you won't see the rulers. But if I turn them on, you'll see them. So I'm going to go to view. I'll put them back on. So those are guides that I drug out from here. I drug them out from here, and that's where I got them from, the rulers. And everything in Figma is pixels, so you'll have to get used to that, at least for what we're using right now. And again, this is a free program, so we have access to do some design work and share things without having to, have Adobe Creative Cloud or anything running right now. So just a couple things I want to go over. These things, if you want to center this on the page, I could just click on this and use this center align, and that centers it on the page. Now when you grab one item, object, a text box, whatever it is, and you center it, you can use these. Now this stuff when you center this, if you center it on the page, it's still not going to be centered on the page. The box is centered on the page. But if you want to center the text inside the text box, you're going to go down here and just use this text align. So text align center will put that inside the text box. I'll zoom in a little bit here to see that a little better. So this is centered, this is centered. If you want to center all of them, I'm going to do Command minus. If you're on Windows, do Control minus. And I'll highlight all of these. And also if you want to highlight everything that's on here, you can click that and then hold Shift and click that. And they're all centered. Now if you align all the boxes together, they're all together. They're not aligned on the page, but they're aligned with each other. So when you select multiple objects, they'll align with each other. I'm just going to move it over a little and make sure I see that red line and kind of center it in the middle. And I'll zoom back in. And the first thing I'll do is make everything one size, just like we try to do so it's all consistent. So I'll highlight all these again, now that they're all kind of centered. I'll make them all one size. And right now it's using 12-point Inter. Now I don't even know what typeface that is. Now we have access to Google fonts in here, so I'm going to use Roboto. So I'm going to go here and choose Roboto. You could just type Roboto, start typing it until you find it. And I'm going to make everything 14 point. And everything's 14 point now. And that kind of puts everything on a consistent kind of plane right now, and then we'll start pulling things out and making them a little bit bigger. Now, one area I just want to focus on right now, I'll zoom into, is this area down here. I'll zoom out a little bit. Is this area has a couple paragraphs in here. And one thing I just want to mention here is that if I grab this and resize it and drag it out there, you can see the text is kind of formatting to the box itself. So I didn't really put any returns in it other than there's 3 paragraphs. After resident, there's a new paragraph, and after clinic, there's a new paragraph. So it's only wrapping to the box itself. Now, one thing you could do is just kind of resize this box a little. Now, just to point out, this is fixed size. So when you grab this around, you're making the box a fixed size. And if you went here and did auto width, which you don't want to do, it's going to do something like this. It's going to put everything as far as it can go. Every paragraph is going to be as long as it can be and push out the box. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to undo. And what I will do is actually just shorten it so that these things look okay. And another thing I'll point out here is because these are 3 paragraphs, now it's hard to tell they're paragraphs, but they are. We're going to use a setting down here called paragraph spacing. And this one is line height. We're going to use both of them, but I'll just show you paragraph spacing. We'll put space before each paragraph. So let's do this. I'm just going to move left and it does nothing. I'll move right and you can see what it's doing. It's putting space after each paragraph. And depending what you're doing, it will use space before or after. Now it's putting space between the paragraphs, paragraph spacing. And I'm going to kind of scroll over here. I'm scrolling over this thing. Now you could put in numbers, but if you scroll over here, I'm going to do like maybe 12. And it's putting 12 pixels of space between these paragraphs. And if you want to adjust how these lines break, you could even bring these in more and kind of do something like that. I don't want information on one line. I might want to actually go in here and put your health insurance information on one line. Now to do that, if I hit return, if I just hit my return key or my enter, it's going to put extra space because it's making a new paragraph. I don't want a new paragraph. I just want to do a shift return, which is a line break. That way it's part of the same paragraph. So I'm going to grab that. I'll click off, I'll click on so I'm not inside that stuff and just kind of move it over and center it. And that's all I want to do with that right now. I'm just showing you that that's paragraph spacing. It's putting space in between the paragraphs, and it's usually doing it either space after these or space before these two. And something else that you can do on these, now I'll adjust this a little bit when I make them bigger, but you can also do something called line height, which adjusts the space from baseline to baseline. Now we'll do that a little later. So I'm just going to move this down here, and let's just go up here and focus on this one, this COVID-19. This is the one that was really big, the headline. So I'm going to go and make this Roboto, and I'll make it black, which is a real heavy weight version of Roboto. And then I'll make it large. It's 14 right now. I'll put it up to somewhere like 64. See what that looks like. And that's probably a little too big. Let me go to 48. Something like that. I'll make it maybe 54. Now, there's a little area where you can get a side of it and kind of scroll right and left and kind of go up and down if you like doing that. Or you could double click in here and just put in a number like 54 or something like that. Now, what's happening here, it's actually going outside the box. That's because it's still on a fixed size box. Now, I mentioned don't mess with auto width, but if you use auto height, it'll at least make the box so it contains everything. And then if you make the box a little wider, I'm even going to pull it to the edge of our margins here. And now it's actually putting vaccination up on that line. Now I don't want vaccination on that line. So again, I'm just going to click here and do a shift return and break that line. And I'll move this whole box up a little bit. And even if I do this now, even if I use auto height, it'll kind of snap back so it's as large as it needs. And I'll just put it in there. And that's kind of our headline. I'll move St. Joseph's Pharmacy up a little bit. I'll move this stuff down, this stuff down. So let's focus on these things right now. Now it has Warren County Community College Eagles Nest Cafe. I'm going to go in here and break this and do a shift return. Not just a return, but a shift return. I'll put it on its own line. And these are on their own lines as well. Now I'm going to make these, I'll highlight both of these, kind of drag through them. And these I think I'll make 24. So I'll go down here into my text area, go to my pixel size and make it 24. Now it's a little big right now, so I'll just move stuff down out of the way and give some space to these. I'll move this up, I'll move this down. Now this one has the same issue where it's kind of going outside of the boundary. And if you just go over here and go to auto height, it'll kind of bring it in. Now keep in mind you may be changing that occasionally, and that's okay. Now what I'm also going to do here is adjust the line height. Where it has auto, if you go right or left, you could make it tighter or looser. I'm going to make it looser, maybe something like around 130, because I think default is around 125. So I'll go to 130 and just kind of spread that out. Even this one I'll do the same thing. I'll go to line height, I'll change it from auto, go up to 130. Or as close to 130 as I can. Now this still has the issue with the box. This Eagles Nest Cafe is coming outside the box, just auto height, leave that on. And that's fine. That's all I want with that. That looks okay. So we use line height to kind of spread it out a little bit, to lighten it, so they don't look so tight together. And these we use paragraph spacing to put space in between the paragraphs. I'll move this back up. Now this one, because it's a headline, actually would look better with tighter line spacing, or line height as they call it here. So I'm going to make this a little tighter. I'm going to go over here where it has auto, and I'll go to the left and tighten it up a little. I'll make sure I select it, and then I'll go here and tighten it up a little. And it's going down. Like I said, it starts at 125, I believe, and I'm going to take it down to maybe 108, 109, something like that. Even a little tighter. You don't want to go too tight, but maybe something like 105. I'll make it 106. If you like an even number, I'll just make it 106. And that's nice and tight. Usually headlines, if you have multi-line headlines, you're going to want to have them a little bit tighter. And I'll do that, and I'll even make them red. I'll even make this headline red. So I'll go down here to color where it has fill. Now the fill is referring to that. It's black. I'll make it red. I'll just kind of pull out a nice dark red color, something like that. And then when I'm done, I'll just hit this X. And the St. Joseph Pharmacy up here, I'm also going to make that maybe 24, the same as these. Maybe I don't have to go that big, but I'll try 24 just to be consistent. I don't want everything being different all over the page. Now that's kind of the lead into that, so I think that looks okay. And I'll bring this down a little bit. You could certainly make this bold if you want, if you think that needs to be bold because it's part of the headline. I don't know if it's necessary to do that, but that's okay. Even this I might make a little bit bigger. I have 54, I may go a little bit more. Maybe I'll try it 60 and see how that looks. I don't want to go too wide, too close to the edge, but let me try 58. I just don't want it getting too close to the edge. Now, when I say edge, it's not really the edge, it's kind of the margin there, so that doesn't look bad. But if we put a border on there, we don't want it going up against the border. That looks okay in bold. That's not bad. I'll zoom in a little bit. That's not too bad. And this isn't too bad. So what we're doing is okay. Remember, this is in kind of your eye level area, the upper third, so that's kind of standing out. This is kind of next. It's forming a nice shape. Look at the nice shape that it's forming here as we go down here. These three paragraphs are their own group, yet they're still separated so you could read them separately. And even these things could probably be adjusted the line height a little bit. Now remember, we did paragraph spacing to put the space in between, but I might go and increase the line height a little bit here, because you can see what happens. It just gives a little bit air in there. So I'm going to take it up to like 125. I think that looks a little better. It looks a little tight when we first had it. So I'll just kind of move it in there. I'll move this up. We don't need that much space in between it. And that looks okay. We don't have to make this stuff bold necessarily. It's nice and readable the way it is. This stands out. This I'll move up just a little bit more. Has a nice size to it, nice shape to it. Again, we're always looking at the shape. How, if you could draw a box following all around here, kind of the head, shoulders, midsection gets a little narrow, legs, and this is kind of the feet at the end. And what I'll do with the feet on the end, I'll zoom in to the bottom part here, is I'll go here and I'll zoom in a little bit more. You can see the phone numbers on that line. So I'm going to break that. I'll click in here and have my cursor there. Then I'll do a shift return and I'll break it on its own line. And everything here looks a little bit tight as well. So I'm going to go to my line height where it has auto and just increase it a little bit. Maybe to 130. That looks a little bit better. I could even go here with pharmacy and maybe make this a little bit bigger. Maybe instead of 14, I'll make it 16. And maybe I'll make it bold. And that looks okay. And the whole block I might want to make red. So I'll click the whole block again and I'll use red. And it's showing me document colors. So it's using a color I'm already using. And I'll zoom out. I'll close this. And that looks okay. Now I don't want this butted up against the bottom there. So I'll move everything up a little bit. And I'll zoom out so you can kind of see the whole thing. So I got a little room up here. I'll move it up a little. And in Figma, it does kind of lock to the guides a little bit. So it locks to being centered. It locks to where it is initially. So I'll go up here a little bit. And everything has a pretty nice shape to it. Now, there may be too much kind of together here, but it's not too bad. I'll bump it up just a little bit. Could certainly tweak it a little more, but for now, considering what we had started with, that's not too bad. What I'll do is I'll put a border on here. I'm going to go over here, and notice I haven't saved. You don't have to save, so everything's being saved as you work. Even if you kind of went back here to back to files, there's the file I was working on, so I could just reopen it. There it is, it's reopened. If I want to put a border here, I'll open this up just so I can see everything here. I'm going to go on this box and use the rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a shape. Now right now the shape is on top of everything, and that's okay. I could drag it to the bottom. I could drag it all the way down to the bottom. Now it's still gray, so having it at the bottom is probably better anyway. And what I'll do is I'll take away the fill. So if I go over here to the fill, there's a gray fill, I'll just hit the minus sign and get rid of it. And I'll go to the stroke and hit the plus sign and add a stroke. And instead of black, I'll make it red, the red we're using. And then instead of like 1 pixel, it's way down here, I'll slide to the right and make it maybe about 4 or 6 pixels. I don't want a really thick border on here. I don't want this border, something like that, overpowering everything. I don't want your eye going to the border. We don't need a really big border. We just need something maybe 4 to 6 point. And it's pixels. Actually, they're using pixels, but that would be the same as point, 72 pixels per inch. And we'll talk about the conversions if you need to work in inches. But right now, that doesn't look too bad, actually, compared to what I had. That's kind of what we wanted to do in here. And the idea is we want to do some design work in here. So we're going to be using text, and we're going to be using images. And images are easy to bring in. I'll just go here and search for something. I'll search for a syringe, if I can spell it right, and I'll put clip art. So I know I don't want a picture of a syringe. I just want syringe clip art. And I'll go to images in Google. And one thing that's helpful is if you go to tools and go to color and go to transparent, we could bring in something transparent. Now, how do you know it's transparent? Well, if you click on it, you should see a checkerboard kind of come in here. Now, I don't see a checkerboard. And what I mean is if I right click on here and copy image, and I go back here and I could just paste it. I think it pasted it in the box. Be careful. Be careful. I'll undo. Be careful to not have anything clicked on yet. Now paste it. Now it pastes on there. So don't have a box clicked because it'll try to paste it in the box. But you can see this isn't transparent, so it's over top of everything. Now, if you didn't have to worry about it, if it's just on white, I guess it wouldn't be a big deal, but I'm going to try to find a transparent one. Now, we could certainly edit it and do stuff to find transparent, but let's see if we could find something transparent. You'll usually see a checkerboard. Now, that is a checkerboard. That looks like it might be transparent. Let's try it out. I'll copy image. I'll go back here, and I'll paste. Now, if you see the checkerboard in here, it means it's not transparent. So I'm going to scale this down. You can hold shift if you want to keep it in proportion. And Actually, this is perfect because it's kind of pointing up already. And I'll just bring this over here. And I don't think we could color it because it's a ping file, so we're not going to be able to color it. We may be able to adjust it somewhat, but eventually we'll make our own clip art. We won't be using just stuff that we search on Google. But if we wanted to crop this, if you go over to image and actually just double click on it, you can, I think, edit object, or you can double click on it. It brings up this little image area here, and if you go to crop, it brings up little cropping tools. So I'll zoom in and go over here, and I'll just kind of crop, just like you would in Word with an image. And I'll just do that. I'll hit enter, and now it's cropped off to the side. Now, I don't know if that really helps our flyer, but it's something. It's a little piece of art in here. You could have a small one down here if you want. You can copy this. I'll do Command C, Command V, or you could hold down your Alt key and make a copy and bring this over here, and perhaps you can flip it around. I don't know if they have a flip tool. Let's see. Object, flip, horizontal. Flip it around. I could put it down there. And I don't know if that looks good, but I'll make it look a little different. I'll see if I can make it smaller and just kind of move it against the border. Not so it's covering up the red, but right in front of the red like that. And I could even crop it differently if I want. But again, I don't want to get carried away with this kind of stuff. I don't know if that really helps. It might be a little hokey. But anyway, I just wanted to show you could do that. And again, we're using it to kind of create flow. So everything's very centered, everything's very symmetrical, but this is kind of breaking it up, just like we did with the leaves and with the Harvest Fest flyer. Now, every time I zoom in, I do Command minus, it's kind of going in bigger increments. So I'm hoping that there's a place where I can adjust the increments, because it seems like it's doing too much at one time. You can on your trackpad, I guess. I could kind of do it on my trackpad. I'll find out where there's a better place to do that. So I'm just kind of using my fingers on my trackpad of my laptop. So I can kind of do it in smaller increments than just doing Command minus and Command plus. But maybe there's another way to do that. I don't know if there's a percentage slider sometimes that you could do, but that looks okay. And that's kind of what I want. So that's all I want for this. And I just want some practice with this. We'll do some more practice with some of these tools over here, with line spacing, with tracking or letter spacing. All this kind of stuff will work with a little bit. But this is a good start just to get the feel of it, just to do some layout. So when you're done with this, you don't have to save it. All you have to do is go over here to share and then copy link down here. And then to turn it in, you could just go to this assignment and click on the assignment, not this link, because this was the one to get the shared file. Just go to here and go down and add a comment. Now, I already did this in class, but I could add a second one. And what you're going to do is you're going to add a link. You're going to insert a link, and you're going to paste it here. And make sure you change this to new window so that when I click on the link, it opens in a new tab and not in my Warren, so that I have to hit the back button to get back to my Warren. So always try to do this, open a new window. I don't know why it doesn't default to that, but it doesn't. So we're copying the shared link, pasting it here, and then when I go to look at your file, I could just go and click on it. So now there's two here. That's the one I did in class in the afternoon. This is the one I'm doing when I'm recording the video right now. So that's what we did in class, and I could close this up, and I could go back to files at any point. And I'm going to go over more with Figma. There's a lot of nice design stuff we can do in Figma when we're not using Illustrator in class. It doesn't mean we're not going to use Illustrator, but this is nice to use at home. It's nice to do some layout. We have access to all these Google fonts. We could bring images in here. There's a lot we can do in here. Some things we can't do. We can't look at here and see where the returns are and the line breaks and formatting marks. We also can't work in inches. We're working in pixels, so we'll have to do some conversions. But otherwise, it's kind of a nice application even to do, just print work like this. I can actually go and export this as a PDF from here if you wanted to. Now, I'm just looking at it, but you can go here and preview it, export as a PDF. I forget where that is, but you can go to, here's export. I don't know what options they have here. Export, I think they have different options. PDF, JPEG, PNG. I can export a PDF right from here. I can go to preview and I can just export. And there it is. I'll hit export. And it made a PDF of it. Let me just look at it. I'm just curious to see what it looks like. And there it is. There's my PDF file. So you can do that. So a lot of cool stuff you can do in here in Figma. And again, it's made for designing web pages and websites. So it's not even made for this, but this is nice that we can use this for some design work in graphic design when we don't have access to Illustrator, you're working at home, or we just want to do something really quick. And also to learn about all the settings that, aren't perfect in Illustrator as well. There's a lot of nice typographic settings in here, and even some we didn't use yet. If I go to the 3 little dots, there's even more settings. There's indents, there's alignment, there's the paragraph spacing, paragraph indent, there's list styles, and there's even caps. So it has a lot of good formatting options in here. So it's not a bad application to work with if you don't have access to Illustrator or InDesign or anything and you just want to do some layout. Nice program to work with. So we're going to do more with this when we can. We won't use it all the time, but it's a nice option to actually make something that it's very easy to share, it's very easy to turn things in, and it's very easy for me to get your file, and then if I have to kind of make some changes to it, it's very easy to do that as well. So this is Figma. We'll be doing more with this. So this is our little introduction, and we'll be doing another exercise where we work with some text formatting in class on Thursday, October 6th, I believe, since this is the 4th. So I'll see you then, but hopefully this video helps out a little bit if you weren't there, or even for review.